Okay.
So let me share my screen. So we'll start the discussion with storage account. Let me give you some brief about the storage account and how can we control the security of the storage account. So there is a very good service in Azure called a storage account. If you want to store some data, you would be able to make use of the storage account. So let's see it here. So first of all, whenever we create a storage account, whatever data we put inside a storage account, all that data at rest is encrypted by a service called as storage service encryption. There is a service called as storage service encryption, and all the data at rest is encrypted by this particular service. Right? By default, it is using Microsoft managed keys to do the encryption. But if in case you would like to use your own keys to do the encryption, we can do that as well. So instead of using Microsoft managed keys, if we would like to use our own keys to encrypt the data at rest, we would be able to do that. Inside a storage account, we can store 4 types of data. We can put blob storage, we can have file share, we can have table storage, and we can have queue storage. So these are 4 types of storages that we can have inside a storage account. Blob stands for binary large objects. Blob stands for binary large objects, right? Any kind of an unstructured data, a data that is unstructured in nature, we can store that inside a blob storage. Unstructured means audio, video, PDF, log, VHD files, right? Images, all these are considered as a unstructured data. So if we want to store the unstructured data, we can put that inside the blob storage. I'm sure you would have seen, like in SharePoint, on a single file, multiple people can work together, right? Or same file can be shared with multiple people in a single go. SharePoint works on the SMB protocol, server message block protocol. Just like we can create the file shares in on-premise, NFS file shares, right? Or SMB file shares, we can create the file shares with the help of this file share option. Same file share can be mounted on multiple machines, right? So basically, let's say if you have a file share and you have stored certain files inside that, and you want to share that file share with multiple people, you can do it with this option. It works on the same protocol on which the SharePoint works. It works on the SMB protocol. If we want to create a database, and that database should not be SQL in nature, maybe let's say we are looking for a NoSQL database, or a database which is schema less, maybe schema less database, or maybe non-relational database, right? So we can get that with the help of table storage. So if you want to create a table, if you want to store data inside in the form of a table in the database, and maybe that should not have any relation with the other tables. In SQL databases, the tables, we can create the relations between the tables using foreign key, right? We would be able to create the relations. But if we want to have a NoSQL database, or a database which is not based upon a particular schema, which is a schema-less database, we can get that with the help of table storage. Then we can have a queue storage. Inside a queue storage, we can store messages. So whenever we work on a microservice architecture, whenever one service wants to communicate with another service, it sends out a message. Whenever one service wants to communicate with another service, it sends out a message. Those messages can be stored inside the queue storage. Those messages can be stored inside the queue storage. Inside a queue storage, we can store millions of messages, but the maximum size of one message can be of 64 kilobyte. Sometimes people ask what to do if in case we would like to have a message size greater than 64 KB, then we can go with service bus. Inside service bus as well, we can create the queues. There, if we choose the primary tier of the service bus, we can get a message size up to 1 megabyte. For a message size, 64 kilobyte is a good size. 1 megabyte is a very good size, right? So if in case, let's say you want to store messages and you want your message size to be greater than 64 KB, then we can go with service bus. The name of
So what is the limitations, message limitation for service bus? It's only 1 MB or more than 1 MB also we can store
1
in
MB is the
service bus.
maximum. 1 MB is the maximum, and size could be 80 GB. 1 MB could be the size of maximum size of one message, and the entire queue size could be of 80 GB.
So suppose the queue is full above 80 GB in a peak organization. So how further that how they will they extend the size, or what is the mechanism they use to like make it as a like more space for
Maybe you can make. So you are saying queue is full, so you are not fetching messages from the queue.
Yes, suppose the 80 GB is or in bin organization. Then what mechanism they use above 80 GB?
Maybe you can create multiple queues. You can create.
Okay, multiple queues, or can we ask them that increase the queue size with MS support? How it is?
I think that is a maximum limit. Probably you can open a ticket with the MS team. Probably they might be able to increase the size a bit, but I have not heard of that scenario.
Okay, otherwise we can increase the queue, right?
Yeah, we can increase the number of queue, or if you are designing a solution and if you feel that maybe at a given point in time you might be using 80 GB of queue space, then you can go with this queue storage. Right? If in case, let's say you might be putting a lot of messages, millions of messages, but message size will be around 60 or 64 KB. That should be the maximum message size. But you want a queue size bigger than 80 GB, then you can go with this queue storage. There you can put as much storage as you want. Right?
Yeah, but here is also limitation, right? 64 KB.
64 KB, absolutely. So then you can create multiple.
Yeah, understood what you're saying, but if the requirement is there, right? Suppose the message size is 1 MB and we require more like storage, then multiple queues we can create, right?
Yeah, multiple queues you can create. Absolutely. The name of the storage account will always be unique across the globe. For example, let's say if I'm creating a storage account with my name Jitin, so I will get an FQDN like this: HTTPS protocol, how we will access the storage account, then the name of a storage account, Jitin, kind of a storage account. If I'm creating a blob storage, it will become .blob .core.windows.net. Right? Similarly, if I'm creating a file share, this name will become .file. Table storage, it will become .table. Queue storage will become .queue. So if two storage account will have same name, they will have the same FQDN. Absolutely, if they have the same FQDN, they would not be able to resolve anywhere. So name of the storage account will always be unique across the globe. If I further talk about the blob storage can further be divided into three categories: blob, page blob, and append blob. Right? Blob, page blob, and append blob. Blob means, right? So blob means if we want to store any kind of an unstructured data, if we would like to store any kind of an unstructured data, we will put that inside the blob. The maximum size of one blob can be of 4.75 terabyte. The maximum size of one blob can be of 4.75 terabyte, right? That's the maximum size of one blob. But inside one storage account, we can have multiple blobs, 10 blobs, 50 blobs, 100 blobs. That's the maximum size of one blob. Page blobs are basically used to store the VHD files, right? Virtual hard disk. And the maximum size of one page blob can be of 8 terabyte. Append blobs are basically used to store the log files. As the name suggests, we can do the append operation with the help of this. As the name suggests, we can do the append operation with the help of this. Right?
Jitin, 1 second. The page blob, can you please repeat one more time? What is the purpose?
Page blob. So let's say if you have created a virtual machine, right? When you create the image of the virtual machine, that image will be coming in the VHD format, virtual hard disk.
Okay.
So those are basically recommended to be stored inside the page blob. Append blob as a name.
Okay, 1 second. So the page blob is a VHD that is Similar to that, we can extend that one also, right? We can create more than one page blob in a container, right?
As many as you want, as many as you want.
Okay.
So what
Okay.
happens is when we create a storage account, these three things, file share, table storage, and queue storage, we can create directly after creating storage account. But if we want to
Okay.
create a blob storage, first we need to create a storage account. Inside the storage account, we need to create a container, and inside the container, we put the blobs. So inside one storage account, we can create as many containers as we want. And inside one container, we can put as many blobs as we want. There can be 50 page blobs, 100 block blobs, 20 append blobs, right? Or let's say all 200 page blobs, or maybe all 500 block blobs, or all 300 append blobs. So it can be a combination, it can be single, it could be anything. But first we need to
Okay.
create a container, and then we will be able to create the blobs.
And regarding append block, can you please repeat? Actually, I stopped it actually. So
Yeah, append blobs, as the name suggests, it can do an append operation. Append is adding something at the end. Append blobs are basically recommended to store the log files. So let's say inside an append blob, I have stored a 2 GB log, right? And I want to add,
this log file is nothing but application logs. You mean to
yeah,
say?
just allow me some time. I'll give you time for the question and the answer. Maybe you can make a note of your question and answer. I'll give you time, right? So let me complete this. I'll give you time for all your queries. Right? Okay. So this append blob is basically for the log file. See, it could be any log file. It could be your network logs, it could be your application log, it could be any sort of a logs that you want to collect. There are different types of logs: performance log, monitoring logs, it could be alert logs, it could be your application logs, it could be your crash logs, it could be your dump logs, crash dump logs, it could be any kind of logs. Right? So recommendation is that we can put that inside the append blob. As the name suggests, it can do an append operation. Append is adding something at the end. Adding something at the end is the benefit of using append blob is, let's say I have a log file and the log file is of 2 GB. I have a 2 GB log file. On the same log file, I wanted to add more logs. On the same log file, I would like to add more logs. If I can store a log file inside a blob as well. Let's say I have a log file of 1 GB, I can store that inside a blob as well. I can store that log file as a blob. But if I have stored that file as a blob and on the same file, if I would like to add more logs, it is not possible. But let's say I have a requirement, I have stored 2 GB of logs. I am collecting the similar kind of a logs and I wanted to add those logs into the same file. I can do that with the help of append blob. Right? As the name suggests, it can do an append operation. We can add something at the end. The maximum size of append blob can be of 195 GB. For a log file, 195 GB size is a pretty good size. Right? Then there is something called as performance. We have two performance.
Jatin, can you repeat once again the append log? If you want to put a append like log files on blob storage, what were the limitations?
Okay. So if we are putting, let's say you have a log file is of 2 GB. You put the log file into the blob. So what you will do, let's say the log file is stored inside your downloads folder. Somewhere in your downloads folder, you have the log file where you have collected some logs. You are uploading it to your storage account. When you click on upload from your desktop or from your downloads, wherever you have the log file, it will be uploaded inside the storage account blob. So file is uploaded inside the blob. But now you have a requirement that on the same log file, you wanted to add more logs. Can we do that? Answer is no. We can store the log file in the blob as well, but we would not be able to add more logs in the same file. In the append blob, let's say you have saved the file as an append blob, and now you want to add more logs in the same file, you would be able to do it. Does it give you a clarity? Okay. Then we have something called as performance. So we have two options for the performance. One is HDD, or one is we can say standard, and one is which we can say premium. Standard means we are storing data into hard disk drive, into HDD. Premium means we would like to store data into SSD. Depending upon which performance we choose, there will be a lot of difference in the costing, a lot of difference in the performance as well, right? For example, if I'm storing 1000 GB of data in the standard, it will cost me somewhere around $15 to $20 a month. So to store 1000 GB of data for a month as HDD or a standard tier will cost me around $15 to $20 a month. Same 1000 GB of data, if I would like to store as a premium tier, it will cost me around $150 a month. So there will be huge difference in the costing. There will be huge difference in the costing. Then we have something called as access tier. Right? It is specifically for the blobs. So we have three access tier: hot, cool, and archive. These are three types of access tier. Now, whenever we store data, we need to pay for the data storage cost. So whenever we will be storing data inside a storage account as a blobs, we have to pay for the data storage cost. So data storage cost is like this. So it is least for the archive tier, high for cool tier, and highest for the hot tier. If I'm storing 1000 GB of data in hot tier, it will cost me around $20 to $21 a month. Same 1000 GB of data in cool tier will cost me around $15 a month. Same 1000 GB of data in archive tier will cost me around probably around 99 cents, around $1, right? But apart from the data storage cost, there is something called as data accessing cost. There is something called as data accessing cost. When we try to access the data that we have stored, we are paying for the data storage cost. But when we try to access the data that we have stored, then also we have to pay a small cost, right? So that is what we refer to as data accessing cost. Data accessing cost is just the reverse of data storage cost. It is least for hot tier, bit high for cool tier, and highest for the archive tier. Now, question is how to decide when I'm storing data, in which tier I should store my data. There is any file, if there is a file and you would be accessing that file frequently. So if there is a file that we would be accessing every now and then, we should store that data into hot tier. So any data that we would be accessing frequently, we should put the data into hot tier. Any data that we access infrequently, maybe let's say we will access the data right once in 15 days, or we will access that file once in 30 days, or maybe 2 times in 3 months. We can put the data into cool tier. In cool tier, the recommendation is, it's just a recommendation, right? In cool tier, the recommendation is we should store the data minimum for 30 days. In cool tier, the recommendation is, it's just a recommendation. If you want to store for 90 days, you can do that. If you want to store only for 10 days, you can do that. But recommendation is we should store data minimum for 30 days. And any data that we rarely access, maybe we will access that file once in a year, 2 times in 5 years, we should put the data into archive tier. In archive tier, we put that data that we rarely access. And recommendation is we should store the data minimum for 180 days. Right? After this, there is something called a storage account kind. There are 3 types of storage account kind. One is general purpose version 2. Then we have general purpose version 1, and then we have blob. And then we have blob. So Microsoft recommends to use general purpose v2. General purpose v2 gives us all the features that general purpose v1 gives and blob gives at a lower price. So it's a Microsoft recommendation that we can use general purpose v2. We get all the features that we get with general purpose v1 or with blob at a lower price. Guys, any questions, any queries? I think one gentleman has a question earlier. Any question, any queries you have, please feel free to ask, like what we have discussed so
So
far.
do you have any decision tree kind of things, Jitin, to choose which one is what? Usually we have networking, all those things. We have decision tree, which Microsoft is providing, right? Or do you have anything like that for storage?
I don't think so. So you're saying decision tree to store, like, can you give me some examples which, like, what kind of
Scenarios,
data
right?
you want?
What type of storage we need to choose and what scenario. We have, if you look at VMs, we can also see those scenarios, right? The
Right.
storage
So, right.
decision
See,
tree.
right. So if you want to have more information about this, what I can do is I can share you a Microsoft link, a storage link. If you go through this documentation, it will give you a good amount of exposure regarding the Microsoft storage account only, right? So let me share this
Okay.
link. Just try to go through it, right? And it will give you a huge amount of information. So
You have given a big library. Okay.
yeah, absolutely. So if I say Azure storage account, so let me share this link. Just try to go through this link as well, and it will give you a very handful information regarding the storage account, right? So if you want to compare core storage services, if you want to go to the deeper concepts of the storage account, right? If you want to go to authorization, everything in a very, very detailed manner. So if you read this document probably will be of like 200 to 400 pages, I believe, right? So if you see
Yeah,
this,
yeah, it's more than that. Yeah,
right, yeah, it will be around 200 to 500 pages probably. But if you read about this,
yeah.
you will become an SME on the storage account, right? So probably you would be able to take up any questions on the storage account. So
Okay.
let's say in your organization, see what happens is we learn so many things, but when we are actually implementing things in the organization, probably we are working on one, two, or four services. So let's say in your
Yes,
organization, if
yes.
you're working on a storage account service, probably read this document once, and you will have a very, very fine clarity on the storage account, right?
I got it. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Any other question, guys? Whatever we have discussed so far?
See, regarding the logs, which we
Right.
discussed, right?
Mhm.
See, I need to know the one. Before that, I have a few questions with respect to storage. You said the heart. You said about data storage cost and data accessing cost. All those things. It is applicable only for blob storage or file storage. Also, it's going to be same.
File share as well. Yeah. There we call it as, so it is there for file share as well. The names are different. Transaction optimized, the names are a bit different, but it is there for the file share as well. It is
Okay,
not,
so
it
if
is
we want to provide any cost for the each thing, we need to choose those options also available in Azure pricing calculator as well, right? We'll get all
absolutely,
those things there also.
absolutely. So
Okay.
if you go to Azure pricing calculator, so let's say you are storing 400 GB of data maybe as blobs and 50 GB of data maybe as file share, and maybe different tiers you are using. So you have to calculate it
Okay.
twice, one time for the blobs and second time for the file share. So you can go to pricing
Okay.
calculator and you can find it from here. From
Sure.
here you would be able to figure it out.
Okay.
Any other questions, sir?
Yeah, regarding the logs, uh,
Mhm.
see, uh, so my question is, if you're going to use app insights and log analytics workspace,
Mhm.
all those things will be routed to there, and we are when we're creating anything, we are creating a storage account by the services, right? So those things also will be automatically stored in the logs file which we discussed, right? The open blob storage.
No,
It
no,
will
no,
be go
not
there.
automatically. Not automatically. See, whenever you are trying to collect a log from any particular service, let's say you are trying to collect
Okay.
log from a firewall, or let's say you are
Yeah.
trying to collect a log from virtual machine. Whenever you will
Yeah.
try to collect logs, it will give you three options. So when you say, okay, I would like to store these logs, it will give you three options. Either you can put those logs inside a storage account. Now you are putting them inside a storage account. It is your choice now. You want to store the logs as a blob or as an append blob, right? Because now we have discussed
Okay.
blob and append blob. Now better option would be if we store it as a append blob, right? Second is
Yes.
second is there might be a different customer who doesn't want to store the logs inside the blob, who doesn't want to store the logs inside the storage account. Mostly you will find out people are storing logs inside the log analytics workspace.
Yes. Yes.
Then this append blob and blob will not come into the picture,
Okay.
right? So if you want to store your data or your logs inside this storage account,
storage.
this will come into the picture. Else not. If you are putting this, let's say maybe in log analytics workspace, in log analytics workspace as well, there will be a storage account in the backend, but that is something which we are not managing. There we will not get an option to choose the append blob or to choose the blob. That is being
Okay,
managed by
that is
Microsoft.
my question. That is my question. Yeah, thank you.
Now guys, if we are creating a storage account and if we are putting a lot of data inside a storage account, absolutely we want our storage account to be highly available, right? So what we can do, we can have something called as replication, or we can say something called as redundancy for the storage account. So while creating a storage account, we have to define the redundancy or replication for the storage account. There are 6 methods by which we can achieve it: LRS, ZRS, GRS, RAGRS, GZRS, and RAGZRS. These are 6 methods that we have, right? So these are 6 methods that we have. We will discuss them one by one. LRS stands for locally redundant storage. LRS stands for locally redundant storage. In this, we get 3 copies of a storage account, and this kind of a storage will be synchronous in nature. This kind of a storage account would be synchronous in nature. For example, let's say this is one of the Microsoft region. We know in every Microsoft region, minimum there will be 2 data centers. There can be more as well, minimum 2, or it could be more. We are assuming in this region, maybe we are assuming this as a South India region, and we are assuming in South India region, we have got 2 data centers. In every data center, we have got multiple racks. We also discussed that we can refer these racks as fault domains and update domains. We can refer these racks as fault domains and update domains. So maybe we can call it fault domains and update domains. Now let's say I'm creating a storage account with the name Jitin, right? And while creating a storage account, I am choosing it as LRS. I am choosing it as LRS. So if you go here, see, this is the South India region. Maybe I'm saying this is data center 1 and this one is data center 2. So if I'm creating a storage account in South India, the storage account will be deployed in South India region. In South India region, it will be deployed to one of the Microsoft data center. Let's say it got deployed in DC1. In data center 1, it will be deployed to one of the fault domain and one of the update domain. Let's say storage account got deployed here in this fault domain, in this update domain. If I'm creating a storage account as LRS within the same data center, it will create 2 more copies of the storage account. Within the same data center, it will create 2 more copies of the storage account. The other 2 copies will be put on a different fault domain and will be put on a different update domain. So in total, I will have 3 copies within the same data center, and all 3 copies will be a part of a different fault domain and will be a part of a different update domain. Now, for some given reason, if this update domain goes down, I can access the data from here, or I can access the data from here, or maybe the entire fault domain goes down, maybe because of a power failure, networking failure, hardware failure. I can access the data from a different fault domains. So basically, I'm able to achieve the redundancy at a fault domain level failure, update domain level failure, or at a rack level failure, right? We are able to achieve the redundancy at a fault domain level failure, update domain level failure, and rack level failure. If in case the entire data center will be down, would I be able to access my storage account? No. If in case entire data center will be down, all the fault domains will be down, all the update domains will be down, and basically the storage account will be down. We would not be able to access the storage account. So how can we achieve the redundancy at a data center level failure? How can we achieve the redundancy at data center level failure, right? So we can get that with the help of ZRS. We can achieve the redundancy with the on data center level failure with the help of ZRS. Guys, please tell me, do we have availability zones in all the region? On the first session, we discussed that we have something called as availability zones.
No.
Okay, so in how many regions availability zones will be available?
I think
60, 60, 60.
Yeah.
no, no. In availability zone 2 to 3, or as per Azure, it's 2 to 3 availability zone they have. For example, US East, US West, it has availability zones, but similar to that, India, we don't have like that. We have only availability set.
Right. So how many regions we have in total? What is the total
That
number of?
is, they are changing a lot. We need to go to the URL where we can see.
Right.
But as of now,
69 something.
Yeah. So it is more than 60 plus, right?
Yeah,
And
69.
out of those 69 or whatever exact number it is, approximately around 16 to 18 regions contains availability zones. Approximately, I'm just giving you an approximate idea. Approximately 16 to 18 regions contain availability zone, right? And whatever region contains availability zone, let's say this is the East US region, which contain availability zone. This is a data center. So any region that contain availability zone will have three zones. It will have zone 1, right? It will have zone 1, zone 2, and it will have zone 3. In every zone, minimum we will have one data center and maximum we can have multiple data centers, right? So if I want to create a storage account, and if I want to create a storage account, if I want to choose a storage account replication as ZRS, zone redundant storage, I would only be able to deploy the storage account as ZRS only in those regions which contain availability zones. So any region that do not contain availability zone, we would not be able to create the storage account as ZRS. In ZRS as well, we get 3 copies. But this time we put 3 copies in 3 different zones. It will be a part of same region. But this time we put 3 copies in 3 different zones. So first copy will be, let's say, will be put inside zone number 1. Second copy will be put inside zone number 2. And third copy will be put inside zone number 3. Right? So if zones are different, their data centers are different. If data centers are different, their fault domain and update domains are different. Right? All 3 copies are put inside 3 different zones. And this replication is synchronous in nature. This replication is synchronous in nature. Synchronous in nature means whatever changes we are doing here, at the same time it is making changes here, at the same time it is making changes here. Same thing, the one that we have in case of LRS. In LRS as well, the replication was synchronous. If you add 5 MB file, 5 MB file will be uploaded here, it will be uploaded here. If you remove 10 MB file, it will be gone from here, it will be gone from here. So replication would be synchronous in nature. So let's say if we lose this update domain, we can still access the data from zone 2 or zone 3. If we lose the entire fault domain or the entire rack, we can still access data from zone 2 and zone 3. If we lose the entire data center, we can still access the storage account from zone 2 and zone 3. Even if in case if we lose the entire zone, we can still access the data from zone 2 and zone 3, right? So this kind of a replication is also synchronous in nature. So this is what we refer as ZRS, that is zone redundant storage, right? Here also we'll have 3 copies, and this will also be synchronous in nature. This will also be synchronous in nature. But if in case we lose the entire region, let's say the entire East US region is down. If in case the entire East US region is down, would we be able to access the data? No. All 3 zones will be down, all the data centers will be down, all the fault domain and update domain will be down. Then we would not be able to access the data, right? Then we would not be able to access the data. So how can we become redundant at a region level failure? So in order to become redundant at a region level failure, we can go with GRS, that is geo redundant storage. With this we get 6 copies, and this is asynchronous in nature. Or we can go with RAGRS, that is read access geo redundant storage. Here also we get 6 copies, and this will also be asynchronous in nature, right? Any question, guys, so far? Any question regarding LRS or ZRS before we move to GRS or RAGRS?
This is predominantly we need to use only for blob storage or storage account itself, I guess.
For the entire storage account, not for the
Entire
blob storage, for the entire storage account. These options we will be setting up at a storage account level. Whether you are
when
creating
we are creating a storage account, that time we need to choose the options how you want it.
right, you may change them later on as well, but yes, this is applicable to the entire storage account. Now, whether you create blob or table or queue or file share, it will be applicable to all.
Okay.
So if we want to become redundant at a region level failure, then we can go with GRS or we can go with RAGRS. Now, Microsoft has a concept of paired region. Every region has a paired region. For example, East US paired region is West US. South India paired region is Central India. Japan East paired region is Japan West. And these paired regions we cannot change. It's already predefined by Microsoft. Why Microsoft has created a concept of paired region? For the BCDR purpose, for the business continuity disaster recovery purpose. For example, let's say there is an organization and that organization have put a data inside the storage account and they have put the data, let's say in East US. Maybe because of a big power failure or because of a natural disaster, the East US region is down. That particular customer would not be able to access the data. That particular customer would not be able to access the data. So in order to become redundant, even at a region level failure, or in order to overcome the BCDR purpose scenarios, Microsoft has a concept of paired region. Every region has a paired region. So if you select the right replication method, if you select the right redundancy method, whatever data we are putting in one region, all that data will be replicated to its paired region. So let's say if I'm putting some data in East US, and if I'm choosing the right replication method, whatever data we are putting in East US, all that data will be replicated to West US. All that data will be replicated to West US. Okay. So in case of GRS and RAGRS, if we are choosing GRS or RAGRS, all the data is being replicated to its paired region as well. Right? All the data is being replicated to the paired region as well. For example, let's say when I'm creating a storage account, I am creating a storage account in East US. Maybe I can say, or let's say I'm creating a storage account in South India. So South India is my primary region. The paired region of South India is Central India. Central India becomes my secondary region. In both the region, it will follow LRS. In both the regions, it will follow LRS. LRS means it will store 3 copies in the same data center. So in South India, it will store 3 copies, but these 3 copies will be stored within the same data center. It will be stored within the same data center, right? In Central India as well, it is following LRS. So these 3 copies will be stored in the same data center, but absolutely across a different fault domain and across a different update domain. Okay. And this kind of a replication, see, when it will be replicating from here to here, or it will be replicating from here to here, this replication in the primary region would be synchronous in nature. Whatever changes you are making here, it will be making the changes here, it will be making the changes here. But from primary to secondary, while it will be replicating from primary to secondary, this replication would be asynchronous in nature. So replication from primary to secondary would be asynchronous, means whatever changes we are doing here, it will take some time for those changes to reflect here. Microsoft says the last commit that you do in the primary region and the last commit that gets done in the secondary region, right? So last commit that you do in the primary region and the last commit that gets done in the secondary region, there is a difference of around 15 minutes. There is a maximum difference of around 15 minutes. But Microsoft do not guarantee any SLA for that. but Microsoft do not guarantees any SLA for that. It could be more, it could be less. It may change depending upon how much data you are replicating and what kind of a data you are replicating. It may change upon the same. But replication is around 15 minutes. Any question, any query, anything guys so far?
No questions.
Now there
So
is a
if
very,
our one data center goes down, so we can lose around 15 minutes data, right? So
yeah. See,
also,
that is something which Microsoft recommends, but that could be more, that could be less. Microsoft is not guaranteeing any SLA for that.
so
Microsoft is not guaranteeing any SLA for that. Yeah, it could be around 15
So
minutes. It could be
get the
20 minutes.
100% data. Get the 100% data. Is there any alternate solutions for this?
Do we have any 100% solution in the?
No, no. From what I'm saying, any tool which we are using for backup for this one or anything.
So you can take the backup. See, when you are taking a backup as well, then also it is not 100%. Let's say you have stored a data inside a storage account. You are taking the backup. While you are taking the backup is completed 80%. And the device or the hardware where the storage account is configured in Microsoft Data Center, it goes away. It may be hardware crashed. So till what level we have taken the backup? Only 80% of the data we have backed up, or 90% of the data we have backed up. So I don't think any solution would be able to provide you like 100% data guarantee, right?
Yes.
Actually, is it similar to AWS also? They're doing the same, right? It's a different team.
Yeah, so I think same solution they would be using. Name would be different. Like I'm not trained on AWS, so I don't know like what.
S3 is there actually, and
Oh, yes,
its
is Azure.
availability is yes, 11 times 9 availability.
That is
S3.
not availability, that is durability. There is a difference
Yeah,
between availability and durability. Here also you get 11 times 9, 13 times 9, and 16 times 9. With GRS and with RAGRS, you get 16 times 9. With LRS, with this, you get 11 times 9. With ZRS, you get 13 times 9. That is not availability. That is
What is
durability.
line actually? Sorry.
99 point something is there for S3.
Right? It would be 99. See, maximum, I think it would be 99.95 or 99.99. Anyhow, it would not be greater than 99.99. Like I personally
Yes.
don't feel so. Availability will
But
be
still,
that, right? Durability could be more. So durability could be like 11 times 9, what you mentioned. So any question guys from here, from this area? Okay. So difference between GRS and RAGRS is in GRS, we will get the access of the secondary region copies only when the primary region is down. By the time primary region is up, we would not be able to access the secondary region data. And when primary region is down, then only we would be able to get the access of the secondary region copy, and that access will be coming in a read-only access. That access would be coming as a read-only access. In case of RAGRS, we do have the access of the secondary region copies even when primary is available, but again that access is a read-only access. But again, that access would be a read-only access. Right?
But suppose if I want to write something, so can we make the read only to writable copy?
Absolutely. See what happens is, let's say I have created a storage account with the name Jitin, and I have set it as GRS. So what is my primary region as per this diagram? My primary region is South India. If the primary region is down, let's say if South India is down, I can access the data from Central India. So my secondary region is Central India. I can access the data, but it is coming in a read-only access. Maybe you want to get a write access. What you have to do, you need to initiate a failover. You will initiate a failover. When you initiate a failover, what will happen? Right? So when you initiate a failover, the secondary region will become the primary region. So when the failover will be done, central India will become your primary region, right? And the replication, what was the replication method? It was GRS. Replication will automatically change from GRS to LRS. So now Central India is my primary after the failover, and replication has changed from GRS to LRS. Now you can do the read access, or now you can do the write access. Now you can do both of it.
Okay. And once the primary region comes up, it becomes the secondary, right?
Once a primary, not automatically. Now let's say after 3 hours, the primary region is up. Now South India is up, right? Still,
Yes.
Central India remains your primary. It will not automatically switch back. Still,
No. What I'm saying, the original primary becomes the secondary, right?
the original primary become where it becomes a secondary.
South India, suppose South India comes back online. The Central India is now our primary.
Tell
When
me,
South India comes back online, it becomes the secondary automatically.
no. It will not become the secondary automatically. No, not correct. See, the replication changed from GRS to LRS, right? In LRS, this is the LRS. Do we have any concept of secondary here in LRS? We
No.
discussed LRS. In LRS, do we have any
It's a
concept of a
local
secondary
copy, right?
region? It's a local
It is
copy.
local.
No. It's a
So
local copy.
here, now Central India is your primary. And because the replication is LRS, even when the South India, which was earlier the primary, will come back online, neither it will be acting like a primary, nor it will be acting like a secondary. But if we want,
So
we can
here
do
it is.
that. If we want, we can do that. What we can do right now, who is our primary? Right now, who is our primary? Central India is our primary, and replication is LRS. You can change the replication from LRS to GRS. If you change the replication from LRS to GRS, Central India remains your primary, but now South India becomes my secondary. Let's say you want to
Okay.
make South India as primary. Again, you can initiate a failover. If you initiate a failover again, now South India will become our primary, and replication will again change from GRS to LRS. So now South India is back to primary, but replication is only LRS. Then if we now want to make Central India as secondary, we can change the replication from LRS to GRS. We are back to square one. South India primary, Central India secondary. Back to square.
Yeah. Jatin, one question. Suppose any natural disaster happen and if South India goes down and we are using GRS to LRS technique here, LRS copy of the Central India. Once the South India primary comes up, it's also become the LRS local this one, right? This is also LRS and Central India is also LRS. So which one our application will take? How it is happen?
No, I don't think I'm able to follow your question. So basically,
Suppose any natural disaster happens and this South India primary region goes down. Okay. Now we
okay.
in the Central
I
India.
have few questions before you move forward. You are saying you have a storage account, and what is the replication of the storage account?
RAGRS means GRS. Yes, means secondary will be read only and primary will be
Okay, basically you are
read
saying
write.
the replication is RAGRS. Am I correct?
Yes. Yes.
This is my replication. Okay. And what
Okay.
is the
And
where you have created a storage account? In which region?
it's a South India, na?
In
Primary
South
region is
India,
having
you have.
storage account.
Okay. You
Yeah,
have created a,
and
now you are saying it is going down because of a natural disaster, right?
yes. Yeah.
Okay, it is down. Now what next?
Okay. Now in this we have the secondary copy which is read only. So
Yeah,
to make
this
it as
is
a read write, we have make it as a GRS to LRS, right?
we have to initiate a failover, right?
Yes.
Then it will be then Central India will become our primary and replication will change from GRS to LRS, right?
Okay. Now suppose the South India comes back online.
Okay.
So what will be happen? Is it the South India will be a separate this one LRS
Now
copy
you
or
have nothing to do with the South India. If it's back online or if it's not online, let's say after 10 hours, South India comes back online. All your data is stored only in Central India. In Central India,
okay,
because the replication is LRS, it is stored in one of the data center of Central India, and on the same data center, you have 3 copies. Now that storage account has nothing to do with South India,
okay.
right?
It's as good as it's nothing means it will not
It is
interact
out
with
of
any
picture now.
applications
Right.
out of
If
picture
you
now.
want to bring this into the picture, that's what I was referring here. Central India is my primary. Replication is LRS right now. We have nothing to do with South India now. If it's online, nothing to do with it. There is no data stored there. But if we want to bring South India into the picture, you can change the replication from LRS to GRS. It's a paired region. If you change the
Yes.
replication from LRS to GRS, in GRS or in RAGRS, we are storing 3 copies in the secondary region as well. Now, because you have changed the replication, it will start replicating data to the paired region. Who is the paired region of Central India? South India. So now it will start replicating data to the South India. So Central India is my primary, South India is my secondary.
Okay. One last question.
Mhm.
If it's a data center is primary data center is already down, means primary region is already down, South India region is already down. Why we have to make failover manually? It's already down. Why we have to make failover manually?
Why we have to make failover manually? So
You
is that
said
a
you
question
have to make
you are
failover.
trying to ask?
No, no, no. Yes. South India is already down, just a disaster, and for Central India we are making it as a writable copy. So
Mhm,
you said that you have to make a failover. Okay.
mhm.
So why the failure? We have to initiate failure manually. What is the reason? Because it's already failed. The primary region is already failed. So
May I
why
ask you
we have
something?
to
May I ask you something?
just
Before COVID, in order to work, we have to go to office, right?
hmm,
Why do we need to go to office to work? We can work from home earlier as well, before COVID as well. Am I right?
yes, yeah.
So why do we need to go to office then?
There are multiple reasons actually because at that time that situation is not recommended to work from home. Might be security reason also. The projects peoples or the companies who is having the banking projects, and also the company also not in a that position that give the all the employees work from home. They have not that kind of infrastructure to provide the service to all the employees to do the work from home.
See, what happens is there are few things. Whosoever is creating a technology or whosoever is designing this entire technology, they create
Mhm.
some steps and then they
Mhm.
create the workflows, right?
Okay. Mhm.
Then they create a workflows. So what Microsoft has said that, okay, I'm putting all your data here. If you want, I can put your secondary copy data on a different region so that if in case one region goes down, the other one will be available. Your data will be available there. But if you want to get that data and if you want to get the right access to that data, you have to initiate a failover. That is the
Okay.
process is designed by Microsoft who created this
Okay.
technology, right? maybe
Got
in
your point.
future maybe in future see, it's not like we have to do it manually always. If you want to
Mhm.
automate this, you can automate this. If you want to auto see, there has to be some sort of a trigger in automation.
Okay.
In manual as well, there has to be some sort of a trigger. In manually, you are the one who is triggering it. In automation, you will be defining certain conditions which will be triggering it. Condition could be if my primary is going down, trigger my storage account as Central India as my primary. So there has to be some sort of a trigger. Usually, whenever you will see the failover part, whether it is for the storage account, whether it is for the virtual machine, failover mostly it's a manual process. Mostly it is a manual process. You can make it automatic, but mostly it's a manual process. See, how would Microsoft come to know whether your data is stored? You wanted to have the right copy. If they do the failover automatically, there might be a customer who will come up and say, hey, I only wanted to have the read copy on the secondary region. Why did you initiate a failover? Right? Because when you are initiating a failover, a cost is involved as well. When you guys are initiating a failover, you have to pay
Okay.
a cost as well. Right now, the data is only available there in the read access format. Now it will be available there as a write access format. It will be writing the data as well completely there so that write changes can be made. So a cost will be involved as well. So Microsoft would not be triggering it automatically. We can do it manually, or we can create a process by which it can be triggered automatically. But that's a process that we need to create. Sir, I hope you got the answer.
Yes, I got that. Thank you.
Okay, so if we come back here, now there are two more replications, right? One is what we called as GZRS and one is what we called as RAGZRS. It is same as GRS and RAGRS with a small difference, a very small difference here. Let me draw it, just allow me a moment here. So here we can have GZRS, that is geo zone redundant storage. Here also we get 6 copies, and this is also synchronous in nature. And this is also synchronous in nature. And here read access geo zone redundant. Guys, please remember these three replication methods, that is ZRS, GZRS, and RAGZRS. They would only be available in those regions. These three would only be available in those regions where the availability zones are available. You would not be able to find them on any other region which do not contain availability zone. So here also it is same. Here also we have a concept of a paired region, the same concept that we discussed few minutes back. So if you are creating it as GZRS, you will get 6 copies, 3 copies in the primary region. East US is my primary region. Here it will follow ZRS. The paired region of East US is West US, so it will become our secondary region, and here it will follow LRS. So now in GZRS or in RAGZRS, it will follow ZRS in the primary region. ZRS means 3 copies across 3 different availability zones. When availability zones are different, data centers are different. And in secondary region, it is following LRS, means 3 copy within the same data center, but across different fault domain and update domain. Replication within primary would be synchronous. Replication from primary to secondary would be asynchronous. Again, it takes around 15 minutes. The last commit that you do in the primary region, the last commit that you do in the secondary region, there will be a difference of around 15 minutes. Right? That is how it works. Same difference in
So you
GZRS.
said 6 copies, right? So where the 6 copies will be stored? Can you repeat once again in JRS?
Can you see this diagram, sir? Where do you see the 6
Yeah.
copies? Can you notify me where do you see
6
6
copies
copies?
means 6 copies, like 3 copies in this one primary and 3 copies in secondary, like that. How it
Absolutely,
is?
absolutely. In total, how many copies we have? We have
Total 6 copies, 3 there, 3 here.
3
Okay.
here. Absolutely, right. You got it. Absolutely correct. So 3 copies in the primary region. Here 3 copies are stored in the primary region, but they are stored as in the ZRS format. Means 1 copy in one zone, 2nd copy in 2nd zone, and 3rd copy in 3rd zone. Here also we have 3 copies, but within the same data center across different update domains and different fault domains. Right. So same difference we have here in GZRS. In GZRS, we will get the access of the secondary region copies only when primary region will fail, and we will get the access as a read-only access. In GZRS, we have the access to the secondary region copies as read-only access even when the primary region is available, but the access is read-only access. So even though primary region is available, still we can access the data from the secondary region as a read-only access, right? Any question, any query, anything, guys, before we try to create a storage account now? Okay, so I'll go here and I'll try to create a storage account. Maybe I can say storage account here. We can say storage account here. You can say create. So maybe I can put it here. Let's say we will put a new resource group, maybe RG1. Right? And here, if I try to give it a name test, I'm sure someone would have already used this name. So name has to be unique. So I'm unable to put this as test. So maybe I can try to put it as Jitin. Right here, East US performance standard or premium. Here you can see the redundancy or the replication. So you can select from here LRS, GRS, ZRS, GZRS. If you want to make it as RAGRS, see, if you select GRS and if this box is unchecked, it means it is only GRS. So GRS, and if this box is unchecked, it is only GRS. If you want to make it as RAGRS, GRS with this box checked, it means it has become now RAGRS. Right? So let's say I'm going with LRS only. Then you can go to next for advanced. It says require secure transfer for REST API, means by default this box is checked. Box is checked means if you try to access the blob storage, you would only be able to access via HTTPS protocol. If you uncheck this box and if you try to access the blob storage, you can access it with the help of HTTP and with the help of HTTPS, both the protocols. If the box is checked, you can access the file share only via SMB 3.0 protocol. If the box is unchecked, you can access the file share via SMB 2.0 and SMB 3.0, both the protocols. Then it says enable blob public access. I will explain that to you practically. What does it mean? In 5 minutes, I will explain that to you practically. What does this mean? I'm putting it here. I'll explain this to you practically. Then what does it mean? Then here it says enable storage account key access. Every storage account has 2 keys. Every storage account has got 2 keys. Do you want to enable the access to those keys? We are saying yes. Networking, how can you connect to your storage account? Public endpoints from any network, private endpoints, public endpoint only from selected networks. We will discuss this in detail, probably tomorrow. Data protection. See, there is a very good option called as enable soft delete for blobs. Let's say you uploaded a blob. After 10 days, maybe you removed the blob. You deleted that particular file, you removed that blob. After 20 days, you figured out you need that file back, you need that blob back. So can I get it back? Yes. If we have enabled this option, enable soft delete for blobs, we would be able to get the blob back. In how many days? Days to retain the deleted blobs. Within how many days you would be able to get it back? In 7 days. I want a bigger time window. Maximum you can select is 365 days. So within 365 days, you would be able to get the blob back. Right? Similarly, enable soft delete for containers. If you have removed a container, you would like to get the container back, you can get it back. There is an option called as enable soft delete for file shares. If you have removed the file share, you want to get it back, you can get it back. Go to encryption. So by default, it uses Microsoft managed keys. If you want to use your own keys to encrypt it, you can do that as well. And then
How to use our own keys here?
How to use your own keys here for encryption?
Yes.
You can select it here. You just need to have a key. You can put the key here. While you'll be creating it, you will get an option to put the key. You
So
may
how
have
to create and how to create this our customer manager key? That's my question.
How to create our customer managed keys. We'll discuss that probably next week. We'll discuss that. There is an service in Azure called as Key Vault.
Okay.
Right? I hope you can see it. Service in Azure called as Key Vault. With the help of Key Vault, you would be able to create your key. So basically, with the help of Key Vault, you can do the key management, secret management, and certificate management. When you go inside the Key Vault, you will see an option called as keys. You can go to the key. You can give it a name to your key. Let's say key number 1. And if you click on generate, it will generate the key for you. So you can generate a key using the Key Vault. Let's say you already have a key in on-premise and you would like to use that key. You can use that as well. You can put it there. And if you want to store that key in Azure, you can store that key inside the Key Vault. So with the help of Key Vault, you would be able to achieve that. Right?
Okay.
I'll show that to you, how to create a key, how to make use of key vault. I'll show that to you as well. Right? So we'll
So
say
in Key Vault, can we store like passwords also for Windows machines
absolutely,
or only
absolutely.
certificate? Only okay,
Three
password
things.
means.
Three things we
Mhm.
can store. You can store keys, you can store certificates, you can store secret. So if you want to store the password, you will be putting that as a secret. If you want to store the password of a Windows machine, you want to store the
Mhm.
password of a SQL server, you can put that as a secret, right?
Okay.
So you can do that. Okay, so it is done now. We can go here. So this is my storage account which is created, right? As we discussed some time back, when you create a storage account, on the left hand side, you can see containers, file share, queues, and tables. If you want to create a file share, you can just go to the file share. You can click on create, and you would be able to create a file share. If you want to create a queue, you can create a queue. You want to create a table, you can create a table. If we want to store the blobs, first what we need to do is we need to have a storage account. Inside a storage account, we need to create a container, and inside a container, we can put the blobs. So basically, first we need to create a container. Whenever you will be creating a container, you have to give a name to a container. What is the name of container? Let's say I'm giving it a name test. Test is the name of my container. Then whenever you'll be creating a container, it says, hey, what is the public access level of this container? So we have three options for this: private, blob, and third is public, right? Private, blob, or third is container access level.
Container means folder, na?
In layman terms, you can say that container means folders. In layman terms,
And
sort of you
yeah,
can say
and
that.
blob means files inside that
Blob
container,
means
right?
files. Right? In layman terms, you can say that. Okay. So if I go here, let's say if I would like to create a container. So here, what is the name of the container? Let's say I give it a name test. What is the public access level? We have three options: private, blobs, and container. So let's say I'm creating a container with the name test, and the access level I'm choosing it as container access level, right? I'll say create. So what we have done, we have created a container with the name test, and access level we have chosen as container, right? So we can see it here. This is the container. We can go inside this. Now, if you want to put some blobs over here, you can say upload, right? You can say upload. When you say upload, now here you can pick up the file from here. Let's say I would like to upload some files from my desktop. Maybe I would like to upload some files from my desktop. From here, I would like to upload some files. So I can go to my desktop. Right? Maybe I can go here. Let's say this file I would like to upload. This file I would like to upload. These files. Let's say I'm uploading 4 files. And I can say upload. So all these blobs will be uploaded here. Right? From where I have uploaded? From the desktop. So if you see here, I have uploaded one file with the name EZ300. This is the file that I have uploaded. So if you click on this file, in this file, we can see some information, right? Microsoft Learning Demo, GitHub, docs.microsoft.com. Some information is there in this notepad. This file I have uploaded inside my storage account here, AZ300. If you click on this file, basically you will see a URL. You will see a URL like this. URL would be HTTPS protocol. What is the name of a storage account? Jitin. What is the kind of a storage account? blob.core.windows.net slash. What is the name of our container? Test slash. What is the name of our file? az300.txt. It's a text file. So if you go here, you can see this URL here. This is a URL. If I copy it and if I put it here, same URL. If I copy it and if I put it here, so same URL you will see here, same URL. Right? When I was creating a container, we have given it a container access level. What does it mean? If I take this URL into a browser, if I put this URL into a browser, I would be able to access this file. See, I'm able to access the same file, this file that we have on our desktop. Because this file is uploaded inside the storage account, inside the container, and the container access level is set as container, we would be able to access all the files that are stored over here. Right? So it is ideally not good for the security. So what we can do, we can change the access level. I am changing the access level from container to right. So what we did here, we changed the access level. We have changed the access level. So we change the access level from container to private. When we change the access level, now also we have the same URL. So let me close this. I'll click on this file again. We have changed the same. We will pick up the file again. We will pick up the URL again. But now if we try to access this file, we would not be able to access it. See, it's failing now. Right? So that is how we can have 3 access level for the container. That's how we can have the 3 access level for the container. Now let's say if you want to take the snapshot, maybe you only want to take a snapshot of a single file, single blob, only of this particular file. You can do it. You can click on here. Maybe you can click on here and you can say create snapshot. So you can create the snapshot of a single file. In case of blobs, we can take the snapshot of a single blob. If I go here, if I click on this file, right? If I go here, if I click on this file, so I can do the online edit from here. If I go to edit, online edit, I would be able to perform. See, this is the file. Let's say I'll be making good amount of online changes into this file. So maybe I'll go here, I'll say, hey, this is a test file. And maybe I can save this file. This file is now saved. So now if we click on this file now, we would be able to see only that this is a test file. So now if I go to edit, we can see only it's a test file. But because we have created a snapshot, we can make use of a snapshot. So snapshot comes along with the timestamp. If I want to go back to this file state or this time point in time, I can select it and I can say promote snapshot. I would be able to go to this time. So now if I go to edit, we would be able to see our old file back. Right. When we were creating a storage account, we selected one option which we called as enable soft delete for blobs. Means let's say I'm removing these 2 blobs. These 2 blobs I am deleting. So would I be able to get these blobs back? Yes. When we were creating a storage account, we enabled that option soft delete for blobs. So you can see here, show deleted blobs. You can just move it, drag it from left to right. So when you drag it from left to right, you can see these are the 2 deleted blobs. I can select them. I can go on to the right hand side. I can click on this ellipse sign and we can undelete them. The blobs that were deleted, we were able to get them back. That's how we would be able to get them back. So here we can see this. Now let's say this file is stored as a hot tier. Now I'm not going to use this file every now and then. If I want to change the tier of this file, I can do that. I can click on here, change tier, and maybe I can store it as a hot tier. Maybe from hot, I can make it to cool. Cool, I can make it to archive. We can switch the tier of the file as well. We can switch the tier of the file as well. See guys, if you have 10-15 files, you might be able to check when did you access the file last time. But if you have 10,000 files, obviously you would not be able to check that when did you access the file last time, right? So what we can do in that case, we can make use of blob lifecycle management. In that case, we can make use of blob lifecycle management. What is blob lifecycle management? I am saying that I am creating one rule, rule number 1. If there is any blob that we have not accessed from last 30 days, then move to cool storage or move it to cool tier. So what is my rule number 1? If there is any file that we have not accessed from last 30 days, move that to the cool tier. Rule number 2, there is any blob that we have not accessed from last 180 days, move it to archive tier. That's my rule number 2. Maybe I can have a rule number 3. If there is any blob that we have not accessed from last 365 days, maybe we do not want this file, so we can delete the blob. We can delete the blob. So if there will be a lot of files, we cannot do that manually, but we can create this, we can use this blob lifecycle management. So how can we do this? We can go to the storage account. We can scroll down and we can look for, in data management, we can look for lifecycle management. We will go to lifecycle management. Okay. We'll go to, from here we'll add a rule. So what rule we would like to add? Maybe we can say rule number 1 for blobs. What is the rule? Last modified 30 days ago. What to do if there is any file that we have not accessed for 30 days? Move to cool storage. We can say add. So rule is created. We can create one more rule. This time a rule number 2. Right? This time we can create a rule number 2. So any file, let's say that we have not accessed from last 365 days, delete the blob. That's how we would be able to create the rules. Any question, any query, guys? Like that is all for mine for today. If you have any questions, any queries, please feel free to ask.
Jitin, I have one question, Jitin. So with respect to blob storage, right? In typical application development team, they wanted to store the static content, right? All those things we need to use blob storage or file storage.
Mostly you'll be using blob storage.
Blob storage. Okay. So how they can access through application? How we can give the access things
using connection string. Using
can you please?
Yeah. Although we'll
how
talk
we can
about
see
it
where
tomorrow. Yeah. Although we'll talk about it tomorrow, but since you have asked, let me show you. Every storage account has 2 keys. Every storage account, it will have 2 keys, key 1 and key 2. And with every key, you get one connection string. If you go here, see, this is a storage account. In the storage account, you can see access keys. If you go to this access key, you would be able to see the keys here. You can click on here, show keys. This is the key number 1, and this is the connection string number 1. This is the key number 2, and this is the connection string number 2. How do you connect your application with a SQL database? You take the connection string from a SQL database and you put that inside the application, right? Similarly, this connection string you will be putting in the application. That's how the application would be able to access data from the storage account.
Okay. Start of this class, we discussed about encryption, right? So how that can be managed when we are going to share that connection string actually?
How can we manage means?
See, let's say I'm going to share these connection strings to the development team, and with the help of their development, they are going to update these connection strings to call the files, right? So whatever files they are calling it, that should be at encrypted, right? At rest. So those things I'm asking.
Whatever files they are calling at rest, that should be encrypted, right? By default, whatever data you put inside a storage account, whatever data, that data is encrypted at rest, and it is using Microsoft managed keys to encrypt the data. If you do not want to use Microsoft managed keys, you want to use your own keys, you can go here, you can go to encryption. By default, whatever data is at rest is encrypted, right?
Okay.
I hope you can see here, storage service encryption protects your data at rest. Azure Storage encrypts your data as it's written in our data centers and automatically decrypts it as you access the data.
Okay.
So by default, it is using Microsoft keys. If you want to use your own keys, you can use customer managed keys. You can put your key value here. You can say enter the key URI. Here you can put the key, and it will be using this key to encrypt the data then.
Okay. I got you. And Jitin, I have one small question with respect to MSDN platform substitution. will like create personally for me to access MSDN connection? Sorry, subscription.
Sorry, who will create personally for you?
No, I need to purchase MSDN platform subscription like how you are having now, right? Similar to that, I want to buy for myself to do some POC, to do some implementation. I could not able to use Office account. In this case, will you able to support how I can purchase this thing?
How can you get the MSDN subscription? I don't think MSDN subscription can be purchased. You get MSDN subscription based upon certain things. See, I got this MSDN subscription because I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. So with that, you get this MSDN subscription. Microsoft provides that. In some
Okay.
organizations, you will find out some organizations, they have a agreement with Microsoft. And Microsoft, as per that agreement, is providing them the MSDN subscription. Or sometimes you will feel if you are MVP, right, then you would be able to get this MSDN subscription. So basically, this is something you get on certain conditions. I'm not sure if it can be purchased or not. Let's see here if it can be purchased. Oh, I think you would be
And
able to
additional,
purchase
I have
pay
one
as you go.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have one question. See, I have MSDN connection for my organization when they purchase Visual Studio.
Yeah.
Okay, but that limit is reached and it is getting disabled. I want to enable that subscription because month on month is getting loaded, right? So how I can enable that subscription? Jitan, do you have any idea?
See, just go through this link. It says get started as an MSDN platform subscriber. You have got the power. I am not sure. See how to get MSDN subscription. Like few things that I know is you get it. You can buy MSDN subscription either online or msdn.microsoft.com, or they can be purchased through your organization. So you can get it from here, msdn.microsoft.com.
Okay. So my question is, if my subscription is getting disabled, how I can enable that? I need to raise a support ticket for that, or who will help me out?
Which
Jitin?
subscription is disabled?
So I have Visual Studio, right? 2019 for that Microsoft is giving the developers for $100. Sorry, I think it's euro. For me, it's 40 euro. I can use it. Okay, but unfortunately, what happened because of the service, whatever things which I deployed, it overshoot the cost actual threshold limit. Okay, it got disabled. I want to enable that subscription again. Whom I need to connect, or I need to do anything myself, or I need to.
Okay, is the subscription disabled or is the
Yeah,
monthly credit consumed? There are two. These are two different things. One
it's
is
disabled as of now.
it's disabled. Then maybe you can open a ticket with Microsoft team.
So they will help us, right?
See, I'm not sure. Like I have not opened ticket for this scenario, but I think they would be able to share update on this. So I have no clue. For this, I have
Okay.
not contacted Microsoft in the past. Probably they will be able to update you whether it can be enabled or not. If enabled, then they will do it. If they would not be able to enable it, they will share the reason behind the same, that why it cannot be enabled. So I think they would be able to
Okay.
help you better with
What
that.
happened?
Jitin,
No, the threshold limit is 5,000 per month. Let's I'm just giving example. It crossed 6,000. Since December month, I could not able to access it actually. So that is a challenge for me. Okay, let me check with them. I thought you have some, no, some lights, so you provide. So that's the reason. Thank you.
Jitin, there is one question that is not related to this, just a general question. I have one customer and we have created a side-to-side VPN with the on-prem environment to the Azure, right? And they are complaining that they are getting the low bandwidth when they are uploading the data from on-prem to Azure. So is there any way on the Azure side we can check the bandwidth on the VPN?
Yeah, so see, when you have connected the with the VPN in the Azure, you would have created a virtual network gateway, right?
Yeah, VNG, yeah.
So when you go to the virtual network gateway, check what is the SKU you have chosen for the virtual network gateway.
I use the VPN gateway one, I think the 650 MB it supports, I check.
VPN GW1 you
No,
have
no.
upgraded. So
Yeah,
maybe you
right,
can
right.
upgrade to GW2 or GW3 and then try to check. But there will be some downtime.
But he's saying he's only getting 4 to 5 MB, but the VPN gateway one supports 650 MB.
He's only getting 4 to 5 MB of what? Upload speed?
Uploading speed bandwidth.
Uploading. See what does upload means? He is uploading data from his end, right?
Yeah, upload data from on-prem to Azure through VPN, side to side.
Uploading. He's sending data from on-premise to Azure, right?
Right.
And you are saying you are only getting 4 to 5
Yeah.
Mbps of speed.
Right.
Try to change that SKU once and then try to see if that fix it. Probably it would be able to help you out, right?
Okay. So is then we can log a case with Microsoft, or we can check on the Azure side any log, something where we can check the how much bandwidth he's getting.
See, log you have to check on the on-premise side because we are sending data from on-premise to Azure, right?
Right.
So he is not getting the speed. There could be multiple scenarios. It could be your virtual network gateway is absolutely correct, but maybe his VPN device is unable to support the transfer speed, because on his end he would have configured his VPN device as well. On the on-premise end there will be a VPN device, so maybe they can check the settings in the VPN device as well. And it could also be
Traffic
possible,
shaping.
yeah, it could also be possible the same VPN device is connected to multiple other networks as well, so the bandwidth
Yeah.
is being shared.
It is, but yeah, the same VPN device connected to other devices. So in the other VPN, he's getting around 60 Mbps, but when we sending data to Azure, he's getting around 4 to 5 Mbps. So that he's saying on the other VPN, I am getting 60 Mbps speed, but on the Azure.
So try to do two, three things. One is try to increase the SKU on the Azure Virtual Network Gateway and then try to check. While sending data, ask him to send data, try to send data maybe for testing purpose when he's not sending data to the other networks.
Okay.
Then try and check. So few troubleshooting you can do here, right?
Okay. Thank you.
All right, guys. So have a good rest of the day. Take care, stay safe. We'll connect tomorrow and we'll take it further from